I spent hours on crypto Twitter, so you don't have to. Here's what's happening. Morgan Stanley, the major US bank, has filed with the SEC for a Bitcoin ETF and a Solana trust. The filing in the news has made waves on crypto Twitter and with folks who track ETFs. As a reminder, ETFs are exchange-traded funds. ETFs trade on traditional financial rails. So I'm talking about a format of asset exposure you can get through things like Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, kind of the old school platforms, and that trade on centralized exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. The big narrative of 2025 on crypto Twitter was that people want to get exposure to on-chain assets, but in off-chain ways. A major example is that BlackRock shared that their single largest source of revenue was from their Bitcoin ETF. So from that perspective, if you think about a major institution like Morgan Stanley looking at the possibility of a crypto ETF, it makes sense that they would pursue something that can generate a lot of revenue. On the other hand, the entire blockchain technology category, crypto assets, historically have seemed to be a threat or kind of an alternative to many of the traditional banking systems. So to see one of the most respected names in banking in the traditional financial system aggressively going after crypto-related products remains interesting, at least to me. And in a lot of ways, I think this particular one was a bit of a surprise. Morgan Stanley becomes the first US bank to do this. Ultimately, I think there are two especially interesting things about this news. First, I was surprised to see Morgan Stanley do this for Bitcoin and Solana, but not Ethereum. Who knows, maybe an ETH spot ETF or an XRP spot ETF are to follow. But at least for now, it's Bitcoin and Solana. Second, I think it's so interesting that people even buy some of these ETFs off-chain. For example, right now you can get exposure to Bitcoin and Solana on-chain. I suspect people remember the days of crypto wallets being complicated browser extensions or kind of these scary things. That's just not the way it is anymore. Right now you can go on the App Store and download a variety of Solana wallets. I personally use one for my friends at Meridian Research that you can find at meridian.app online, but there are a wide variety of others like Helios's Orb or Phantom. And of course, you can also use the centralized exchange versions like Coinbase. So why do people want these ETFs? In reality, it's actually a much more interesting question than I just gave it credit for. I think this video has already gone on too long, so I'll save that topic for another day. But in the meantime, another big player has joined the crypto ETF game.